Got it. Just want to make sure that we appear up on YouTube, and then we should be good. All right, I believe we are up and live. Let me just make sure. Jeremy and Steve, you guys want to do a mic check for me?
Hello.
Mic check.
I'm just making sure you both appear on the stream and it doesn't just say Timmy like it's showing on my screen. Oh, there you are. You guys pop up. All needed. All right. Welcome everyone to the Big Brother Disney Season 7 Tomorrowland finale. We are here with our two wonderful finalists. We have Jeremy and Steve. We are super excited to get into tonight's festivities. We have a lot of jurors who have a lot of questions to ask you two. But before we get into that, we are going to go into opening statements. Jeremy, as the final head of household, you had the option to choose who would give their opening statements first, knowing that that person would give their closing statement second. You have elected to go first. So Jeremy, you will have 10 minutes on the clock and your time begins now.
Hello, jurors. First of all, I'd like to thank production for asking me to be a part of this incredible cast. This has been such a wild and crazy season, but getting to do it with these people and with such a loving and supportive prod team has been great. I'm very proud that Steve and I worked so closely together and can sit here today still, but I'm hoping with this speech I can highlight the choices I made throughout this game to get me to this point. So getting into the gameplay of it all, this is not my first Big Brother game, so I plan to come in with my typical strategy. 1. Use my social skills to establish myself as someone people want around early. 2. Stay adaptable at all times. 3. Stay off the block in the early game. And 4. Avoid winning HOH until round 3 or 4. Number 1 worked out perfectly, just observing the first night player rankings in which I was 3rd, and in the next 4 subsequent people mover chains where I was never placed below the top 5 spots. My early relationship with Steve meant he told me about the him, Laura, Andrew trio by round 2 and how Andrew was planning to target people like myself and Cody very early. This obviously didn't sit well with me, so I decided to make it an everyone problem. Pushing that someone is playing too hard too soon is an easy perception to cast, especially when you can make people paranoid, which is when I started the Andrew wants to target all the big guys narrative, allowing me to form the big guys alliance of myself, Cody, Nick, Steve, Blake, and Hudson by the end of round 2. I went into round 3 planning to win HOH, but when my social bond with Noah let them be willing to take the shot at Andrew for me, of course I'd rather have less blood on my hands and keep my threat level relatively low, so I dropped to him so I could rest easy for another round. We also at this point decided to pull Haley into the group and form the cruise crew, which was the big guys plus Haley. I created both of these chats. As soon as Andrew was up, I made my rounds in the house, informing everyone of what Andrew was doing to try and establish a game trust basis with as many people as possible before gunning for the following HOH. And in round 4, I won my first HOH, which was perfect timing given the dynamic of the house. Laura had tied herself to Andrew so strongly that it was very easy to target her next, and to make it even easier, Steve volunteered to be the pawn next to her to hide our duo. This secured that I had no blood on my hands coming out of my HOH as long as Laura left, and freed me up to win the veto and use it on Amy, putting down the groundwork for one of my closest allies outside of the majority alliance. This was the first example of something I decided on my own after the formation of the cruise crew, because Cody, amongst others, wanted Amy to stay up and target her instead of Laura, and I was not having it. This is also when Steve informed me that Cody was talking about wanting to target me around Final 9 because he was worried about my connections outside of the cruise crew, which I tucked into the back of my mind for the coming rounds. Cruise crew was riding high other than Hudson's unexpected exit, right up until Noah walked from the game. After this, I got a very long message from Elizabeth about how she felt used by Noah and wanted to work with me because I seemed smart and strategic and she felt like I could protect her. Of course I said yes, knowing that she was relatively alone with Noah leaving and not having been super active prior to this, and thus I had 2 allies outside of the cruise crew on my side, Amy and Liz. And it's a good thing I did because Liz won the next HOH, which was perfect. I talked to Liz immediately to see who she was thinking of targeting, and the 3 names she mentioned were Michael, Haley, and Cody. Of course, Haley and Cody went up initially, which wasn't awful because Michael could go, but I wanted Cody gone more. So I gunned for the veto with the plan to use it on Haley. When it came down to just me and Michael, though, I thought for a minute. Since the Big Guys was formed first, Cody would probably think that we were closer than we were with Haley, and she would be the vote, meaning he felt comfortable, and Michael saving himself meant that it was an unfortunate accident that 2 of the crew's crew were up on the block. So I threw in the last round of the competition to Michael. Immediately I ran to Liz apologizing for not winning, but to give her my 2 cents about the renom, giving her every reason under the sun to put up Cody. This would have went swimmingly if someone hadn't hinted to Cody that he was going. Haley ended up going instead, and Cody stayed, and half the house found out about the majority alliance from him. And I knew he was primarily after me, so I knew it was time to adapt. This is where the narrative for my game flipped on its head. I knew I needed to get into damage control from here, so I ran to both Amy and Liz to explain everything that happened, but maintained that I still wanted to work with them. I also told Liz that she was lied to as well, and she should join us, thus creating the Prayers Alliance of myself, Nick, Blake, Steve, and her. Amy won the following HOH, but didn't put me on the block with Steve, despite the fact that people were pushing us as a strong duo from the group, and me specifically to be on the block. I also went to work trying to rebuild my relationship with Cody because he was worried that the people he flipped to would turn on him as soon as they had a chance, and I would be a better shield. This once again benefited me as Cody won the following HOH. This was the split vote against Liz, where for only the second time this season, in round 11, the outcome was not what I wanted. I would have preferred Megan left because I felt like she would always choose Steve over me, whereas Liz engaged in strategy talk with me and I felt could work with me more. Then we got to the second live night and Liz came back and I was ecstatic. Here's another example of where I went against what the group wanted. I knew Blake as HOH wanted Amy gone just as much as Fabi, and so if Fabi won veto, she would go home. I also noticed that Amy and I's matchup for Split or Steal was hella down the list, so I bet 10 out of my 17 chips, and as soon as we got in, told her to steal them all, because Fabi was stealing and could end up winning the veto. Results were revealed, Amy won the veto and saved herself, and Fabi was the victim of the night, which left me in the middle of Amy, Cody, and Steve Blake. Once again in the following round, I decided to forge my own path. When Cody won the veto on Steve's HOH, it was the perfect opportunity for Blake and Steve to get Amy out and not have to worry about my relationship to the other side. I went to each of them individually and managed to convince Steve that it was better to send Michael home than Amy, but Blake was not so easily convinced, so I came up with a plan. Steve would secure Megan's vote while I'd secured Liz's and make it a blindside. Steve would then pretend to Blake that he was shocked and pissed at me so that he would still trust Steve and we'd have info from him on Cody. This is where my game gets villainous. Cody wins Final 7 HOH and nominates myself and Liz. I knew from Liz at this point that Amy had made a trio of herself, Liz, and Megan after last round, so I was worried, especially when Cody won the veto. So I got on call with him for about 15 to 20 minutes to pitch why it would be better to keep me. I proposed that myself, him, and Blake are viewed as the biggest threats, and as soon as one of us goes, the rest of you would have the majority and the other 2 would follow. I also told him that if he kept me, I would not nom or renom him at Final 6, and that I would vote how he wanted that round. I was sad because I didn't want Liz to go, but I also knew at this point there was no saving both of us because regardless there would be 2 votes against her and Cody would break the tie. Shockingly, Cody decided to save me with the veto and formed a 3-person alliance of myself, him, and Blake as the big threats. Then, at Final 6, Cody mentioned to me that he was considering throwing the veto to me to ensure that I wouldn't be the renom if him or Blake won, which even more reinforced that I needed to pretend to be with him to survive the round. And it worked because he threw to me and I won the veto. I used it on Blake to show him my loyalty and hopefully make him forget about the fact that I voted against him in the Michael-Amy round. I did flip on my promises to Cody, and I did vote him out, but ultimately I felt I needed to. He was one of the last people who had ruined a plan I set in motion, and I needed to show that I could outplay him, and his competition prowess made him hard to deal with. I respect Cody a lot as a player, and I still believe that had I not done this, he would be sitting here in the final 2 instead of me, and so whilst I'm sorry that I had to lie to do it, I don't regret doing what needed to be done to get myself to the end of the game. At Final 5, I had a conversation with Steve saying I didn't want to vote out Amy, but would let her go if he was okay casting the tiebreaker. Blake then later approached me about how he wanted to save Amy because he was annoyed that Steve was so confident about being locked into Final 2. I agreed because Steve already knew I was voting Megan and would feel betrayed by Blake, meaning he'd want to keep me at Final 4, which he did. Thus, we get to Final 3, where I win my first ever endurance competition in 2.5 years of orgs in Part 1. After Part 3, I made the decision to stay loyal to my Day 1 alliance because whilst I am very aware that for a lot of you I probably looked like the villain, it was always because I was trying to maintain my loyalty to Steve and protect my own self-interests moving forward. I understood the dynamics of this game and used my social strategic prowess to change my position, the perception of my game, and manage my threat level so I went from a tolerated evil to a necessary one for the people left. I stayed adaptable and maintained and rebuilt my relationships to keep my options open, and I fought every step of the way to make sure that I was going to be sitting in this chair tonight telling you my story. I'm the last person in the game without a single vote cast against them, and I was never a final nominee except for at Final Four. I played the fuck out of this game from top to bottom, and I hope that tonight I'll be able to prove that to you. And I look forward to your questions.
All right, thank you so much, Jeremy. Steve, you will have 10 minutes on the clock. The 10 minutes begins now.
Jeremy, first of all, I want to say I have enjoyed playing this game with you from day one. You were always my day one, and I feel like you and I have ran this game together from the very beginning. I want you to know that I absolutely love and value the connection that you and I have made in this game. To the jurors, I want you guys to know that I wrote a very long color coordinated speech that way I could give you guys. But I ultimately decided that I played this game a lot. I played this game hard. I played this game with a lot of thinking things through and not really going off my gut. Like I sat and ran through scenario after scenario after scenario after scenario in my head. I want you guys to know that I don't want tonight to come across as it is planned out and forethought. And like this right here, I just want to deliver like the most real me you guys have seen. And so just know that any kind of, if you ask questions, know that you're going to get the real honest answer from Steve Hutcherson and not Steve the gamer. As far as I'm concerned, we ran the gamut for as long as it can go. And now I need to explain my game to you guys on a very real level and not try to manipulate the gameplay. I came into the game on Wednesday night. They asked me, I got a message from Timmy that just said, hey, we might have a spot open in the BB Disney org. I was not a part of this. I just happened to play Triumph where John Farrell hosted it and they needed another player. And so Wednesday night, they asked me if I would play. Game started Friday. I had final tribal counselor for my very first ever org on Friday night and started this one the exact same night. This is my first ever Big Brother org. I had to miss the opening call, the opening twist. I had to miss so much at the beginning of that because I was at Final Tribal Council that I had to play catch up from the very, very beginning. And so I had to jump on there and pay super close attention to the people's intro videos. That's when I knew Susie worked worked with the weddings right there. I knew both Rachel and Susie both worked at Disney World. I knew Laura and Andrew were both super tight because Andrew brought Laura in. It was her first work ever. They had been friends for a couple of years. I knew they were a final two. And so I had to watch this whole thing and figure out, okay, these are the people that it looks like I can work with. These are the people that it doesn't look like I have a genuine path forward with. And so I came into the game wanting to split the house and write the story. I wanted to come in here and say, okay, these people need to work against these people right here. And so I decided whenever Andrew came to me on the very first round, he won the veto and he started talking about, I don't know if I want to use it on, who was it, the very first third nominee. I can't remember who that is off the top of my head right now. But I think it was Amy, actually. Pretty sure it was Amy. So he wouldn't use the veto on Amy right away. And it was just like, Andrew, like, why are you doing that? Like, you're painting a target on your back already. Then the first conversation we have after that is he said, I want to blindside Cody. I want to backdoor Cody. And he said, I'm going to go talk to Sarah. So he went and talked to Sarah and she came to me and she was just like, I'm not really comfortable with the idea of blindsiding somebody on week one. So I had to completely abandon the Andrew Laura connection and flip completely against them. So at that point, I went to Jeremy and said, hey, listen, they're wanting to target Cody, you and Blake. only because I decided I wanted to work with Blake and Cody from day one. So I lied at the very, 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 very beginning, told Jeremy, Blake, that they were wanting to target the 3 of those. Jeremy went and made the Big Guys Alliance and to include those people that I wanted to work with. I was 100% down for that right there, because it was exactly what I was trying to do. Split the house, work with these people against these people. Once that ball got rolling, I decided, okay, now that we are going to be in control, we have 6 strong right here. I need to make sure that we have the numbers whenever it comes time to turn on each other. And so I was trying to figure out who was the biggest strategic threat. Decided that had to be Cody. Cody was the person that scared me, and I didn't want his guns pointed at me. And so I told Cody that Jeremy was looking at him. I told Jeremy that Cody was looking at him. So that way it planted the seeds that they were going to be looking at each other. Didn't expect it to take off right away. I just needed the seeds to plant. That whole process started looking. It looked like it was going to be myself, Blake, and Jeremy versus Nick, Hudson, Cody at the early point in the game. I decided that wasn't going to be enough for me, and so I had to add a 4th number. Started talking to Haley. Started telling her, "Girl, I need you to start talking to people. I need you to start when we're playing the game nights and stuff like that, you need to have like a 25-word minimum. I need you to start talking to these people." And about 8 days later, Haley joined the cruise crew, and I had my numbers to run the cruise crew portion of it. It ended up being the villains of Aradon. I can't remember how to say that one, but we ran the entire gamut from the very beginning all the way through on my plan. I knew at the end I wanted to sit next to both Jeremy and Blake in the final 3. That was my goal from the very, very beginning. The one time that I felt like I couldn't control the narrative was whenever it was myself and Nick on the block together. And I knew if I came off, Blake was going up, and I knew Jeremy was going to take the shot at Blake. And I couldn't afford to do that one. And so I had to cut Nick because I knew I had the votes to stay. And I hated cutting Nick because Nick was actually the person who I was using as my alternate to the Jeremy Nick thing. Because the Jeremy Blake thing, because Nick and I had gotten super close. And so, like, I guess I'm trying to say that I had wrote the story and given myself options throughout the entire game. I fully recognize that it was messy. I fully understand that it was messy and that it pissed people off. And I realized that it came across as two-faced and as scandalous and as a liar. And I get that. But I had to tell so much bullshit to write the story that I needed written, actually. And so know that although the game was very, very important to me and I was playing very hard, I had no problem separating game from regular personal relationships. I felt like I could be somebody's best friend, make a move against them, and then go over and tell them, yeah, I'm so sorry. You're like I made the move against Cody, and then he immediately went to Cody and was like, yeah, you were the bigger threat. Like Haley, I wanted you out over Haley. Haley wouldn't have turned on me, and Cody absolutely would. When it came down to the final 4, whenever I could have taken out Jeremy versus Amy had survived 2 hurricanes. I talked to her when she was in Kansas, in Florida, in Puerto Rico, in Florida, in Kansas, back to Florida, back in Puerto Rico. I'm not sure how many times she stayed overnight in the same house twice in a row, kind of thing. I can sell my case against a great player. I can't sell myself against somebody who did nothing wrong to anyone throughout the entire game. To me, Amy was the biggest threat left in the house after Cody left. So know that I fully expect to catch a lot of flack for the decisions I made, but just know that I fully admit I did not play a perfect game, but I do feel like I've played a winning game. The end.
All right. Thank you, Steve. And thank you to both of you for those amazing opening statements. At this time, we are going to start bringing the jurors in for their 10 minutes with you. They may ask you questions. They may ask you to raise your hands. They may just want you to participate. So just be ready for any of that. Answer your questions as clearly and thoroughly as possible. Know the jury is currently listening and everything. Even though they are not here, they are all listening to the stream. So with that in mind, we will bring in the first person, which is going to be Miss Laura. I'll give Laura a second to connect.
All right. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, Laura.
Hi, Laura. You are going to have 10 minutes on the clock. You do not have to use all 10 minutes. Use up as much time as you need. Your 10 minutes will begin starting now.
All right. So I think I got most of what I wanted to ask Steve from his opening speech, but I do want to hear a little bit about the specific circumstances surrounding it getting out that me, you, and Andrew all knew each other in the game. So I want to start with that.
So I told that from the very minute that I knew I couldn't work with you guys long term. Andrew had told me that he had been trying to talk you into coming back and playing for quite a while now, and finally he talked you into playing, so he decided to play with you. I knew there was no way in hell I was going to set in the final two next to either one of you guys. Both of you guys were going to take yourself over me. And so I was trying to figure out how I wanted to handle that. And then when the Andrew situation happened where I felt like I needed to flip against, that gave me all the ammunition I needed to put myself in a really good spot. I hated putting you in a bad spot. I genuinely was trying to tell you afterwards, like, listen, abandon the Andrew ship. Like, your game is not sunk. Just do not link yourself to his when he left. Unfortunately, I don't feel like you listened to me or trusted me at that point, which I understand you shouldn't have trusted me at all. But just know that was me genuinely trying to tell you, like, your game, like, you're not being linked to it. Please don't link yourself. But I don't think I was able to convince you or help keep it away from you at that point.
Right. Okay. Next thing I wanted to do, I was curious for both of you guys, who you think, like, which jury members you think that you can and cannot be at the end. So I'm gonna have you both close your eyes, and I want you guys to just give me a simple thumbs up, thumbs down as I read down the list. Do you think you could beat them if you were sitting at the end with them? So I'm gonna start with myself. Thumbs up, thumbs down if you could beat me. If you, all right. All right. Next is Susie. Thumbs up, thumbs down. All right. And then Haley. And Nick. And Fabi. Michael. Elizabeth. Cody. Megan. Amy. And Blake. All right. You guys can open your eyes again. So just for the jury's benefit, because I don't know if they can see you both at the same time, Jeremy said that they did not think they could beat Haley, Nick, Cody, Megan, or Amy. And Steve said that he thinks he could not beat Cody, Amy, or Blake. Did I get that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Then the last thing I wanted to ask you both is, if your game had a warning label on it, what would your warning label be? So for instance, mine would be something like, warning, always get second place in comeback competitions. I had to go there. I had to go there. So Steve, what would yours be? I'll start with you.
Chaotic.
So chaotic?
Yeah, just chaotic.
Okay. What about you, Jeremy?
I would say feisty when backed into a corner.
Okay. How much time do I have left, Timmy? Okay. So I'm gonna ask one more question. If you could go back in your game and change one thing, it can only be one thing about your game, what would it be and why? I'm gonna start with Jeremy.
I didn't really talk about this in my opening, but the round that Cody got nominated, I also was working with Steve to try to get Nick to use the Tom Morrow power on Blake, because Blake was potentially going to be the renom, which was not at all true. But we just wanted Blake to not have the vote. But I think that had we not tried to do that and let him use the Tom Morrow and somebody outside of the group, Cody would have gone that round, and it would have made my path to the end a lot easier. So in retrospect, I would have just told him to do it on somebody else outside of the group.
All right, Steve?
I decided to play the first time I played this, I got taken out at Final 7, like in the Survivor game that I started right before this. And I got taken out at Final 7 because they said you're just like, I was too nice and too well connected and liked at the end to move any further, kind of thing. And so when it got to about Final 7, I started trying to shrink my target by increasing my asshole level. And I wanted to rub some people the wrong way just so it wasn't all positive being heard. And looking back now, I don't feel like that helped me, nor do I feel like I'm even comfortable with making that move again. And so if you're asking like legitimately what's the one move that I regret, it's acting like an asshole, because I don't feel like there was any real strategic value in it at all.
All right. Well, I think I am just about done with my questions. Congratulations to both of you for making Final 2. No matter what happens, like, you both are here for a reason. So just know that I'll be watching everything. My vote's completely undecided right now, just based on whatever I hear tonight. So good luck to the both of you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Laura.
Bye, guys.
All right, thank you, Laura, so much. Up next, we have our next member of the jury, which is going to be Miss Susie. Just waiting for Susie to go.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
There we go.
Oh my god, this is so confusing. All right, wait. Do I have to leave this call? I don't know. I'm on it twice. Hold on, I'll be. Okay, I'm still on it. See, I just want to be both places. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, dang. I have all. Wait, where's my camera? Can you see me?
No, it's just
No.
a gray square.
Wait, hold on. Oh my god. Hold on. Where's my camera? Oh my god, I'm hearing it in my ear. Hey, where's my camera? Why is my camera not on? Whatever. I mean, they kicked me out of the call. Okay, whatever. Timmy, can you make sure that they that we're all pinned so they can see so they can see me and them both at the same time on YouTube?
I can try my best.
Please.
Were you on another call before you joined the Zoom?
Yeah, I was.
Try turning your camera off and on again.
Okay. Don't worry, I don't really have anything of importance to use in my 10 minutes, so this doesn't really matter. But how are you all?
Good. How are you?
Good, congrats.
Thank
Oh
you.
my god. Fucking hate this. Oh,
You having fun, Susie?
I missed Susie.
okay, there I am.
You?
All right,
Good
Susie,
to
your,
you.
Susie, your
Okay,
10 minutes begin now.
are they pinned so they can see them?
Yes, your 10 minutes have started.
Oh, that's fine. Oh, I can still, you can count all that. I don't care. Oh, everyone's pinned. Amy said everyone's pinned. Okay, good. Okay. Okay. We're gonna play another game. Oh, there. That's perfect. Okay. Okay. Congrats, woo, hi, yay, excited, awesome. Most importantly, hi to the jury because the jury's been amazing. No, kidding. I'm gonna do kind of what Laura did, and we're gonna just take it easy and play a game. So close your eyes, and we're gonna play. Oh, I need to scroll up so I can see the order. We're gonna play. Whose vote do you think you have? Fun one. But I need to find a list. I don't know all the people. Okay. Sorry. No one even said anything, but I'm so sorry. Wait, where's the list of like the order we were answering your questions in? Whatever, I'll just do it off the top of my head. All right, raise your hand if you think you have Laura's vote. Okay. Raise your hand if you think you have my vote. Okay. Raise your hand if you think you have Haley's vote. Okay. Raise your hand if you think you have Nick's vote. Tough one. Raise your hand if you think you have Fabi's vote. All right. Interesting stuff. Raise your hand if you think you have Michael's vote. All right. Sounds good. Wait, did I do it out of order? Okay, okay, it doesn't even matter if it's in order, whatever. Raise your hand if you think you have Elizabeth's vote. Okay, cool. Pretty neat. Raise your hand if you think you have Megan's vote. Okay. I like what I'm seeing, All right, raise your hand if you think you have Cody's vote. All right. Gotcha. Raise your hand if you think you have Amy's vote. All right. Cool. Raise your hand if you think you have Blake's vote. Okay, wow. Pretty neat stuff. Raise your hand if you think I should vote for you. Okay. I think that was everyone. Was that everyone?
I think so.
Okay. Now let's just do in one sentence, your best sentence, one sentence only. Why each of you tell me why I should vote for you. Steve, take the floor.
Okay. I feel like I have controlled a vast majority of what happened in this game. I feel like as players who play these games, every one of us is a fan of the game and not just something to watch on TV kind of thing. I feel like if you're playing these, you actually enjoy these games. And so it's not like getting recruited for being a pretty bartender to try to win $1 million. Like if you're on here because you genuinely enjoy these games. You genuinely enjoy connecting and meeting people. I feel like I have not only been a very vital part of this season, but I also feel like I have played a very villainous but great game.
Okay, cool. That was a big run-on sentence, but that's good. Jeremy?
I think you should vote for me because I recognized that Steve was writing the narrative of this game, and I made every effort to take control of that narrative, and I feel like I did.
Okay, solid. Y'all, congrats. I mean, this is great. It's been a great time working with you, playing with you guys. Obviously, I hope we're all friends after this. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks. Sorry for like everything. I literally, I was like playing our Zoom our Skype on that monitor. Plus, like I had it on this phone for a second, and this phone is also playing us right now. Oh my gosh. But
honestly, I just missed the Susie shenanigans on a Zoom.
Literally.
Susie's 95 of our views.
Oh yeah, and I'm like, yeah, Blake said hey. Okay. All right. I'll TTYL. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye, Susie.
XOXO, hugs and kisses. Come to Disney. Thanks, Timmy. I'll see you in a bit. Timmy Pooh.
Bye, Susie.
I'll see ya. Wait, where's Madison, by the way?
At work.
Oh, dang. I thought y'all were going to be together. All right. Love you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye,
See you soon, jury. I'll be right back in the call. Okay, bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Susie. And on that note, we are going to welcome in the next member of the jury, which is Miss Haley. Haley, are you here?
I'm here.
Hey, Queen.
Awesome. Haley, you are going to have the floor. You will have 10 minutes and your time begins now.
Hi, both of you. I am so happy to see you, first of all. If I recall correctly, which the jury would all laugh at my face, we three had a final three. And I'm stoked to see you both sitting there right now. So I just wanted you to know this is like, of everyone, the most incredible vote for me. And I hope that you know that I love you both, and I'm still not decided. So I really did my homework. I'm a little nervous, but I have one question to start, which is, in one word, what would you both say the theme is for this game that you played?
Like my game or the game overall?
Just this game that you played, what is one word to describe it? What's the theme?
Loyalty.
Adaptability.
Okay, I actually had called that for you, Steve. So we'll go into that. For the loyalty, friendship theme, I would say that when I was looking back at both of your games, a couple things stood out to me for you, which is, well, both of you, first of all, let's start. You both had 2 head of household wins, and you both had 5 comp wins. So you're exactly even killed on that. The only difference that it comes down to is when you needed it and when you didn't. Okay, so I did notice one thing about Steve's game, that you did a lot of favors for your allies. And I think that comes back to the loyalty thing. I noticed in week 4, you went up on the block and you kept yourself up there for Jeremy. That was a favor so that they wouldn't have to nominate anybody else. You also went up for Cody, or you went up and Cody left. So that was another favor that you had done. And I also noticed one more thing, that you sat next to your number one ally, Nick, and still let Nick go by staying on the block. So that was something that you did for your own game that I noticed. Okay, sorry that I kind of botched that. But Jeremy, a couple of things I noticed for you is your social awareness. I would say that you never intentionally hurt anybody in this game, but I left at 11, so I've only heard what the jurors have told me. I would like to know what's something that you did for Steve, since Steve did 2 favors for you.
I feel like there were several times throughout the game where Steve was people's primary target, or Steve was the name that people were looking at for a while, and I worked really, really hard to make sure that they would either be looking somewhere else as well, or that they were planning something else in the background so that he wouldn't be the primary target, basically. And I also took him to Final 2 with me when I could have just as easily taken Blake, but I decided to stay loyal as well and maintain that as my story for the season.
And I would agree that both of you remain loyal to each other and to the groups, the alliances that you made. Steve, can you elaborate a little bit more about how you helped Jeremy with the favors that I mentioned?
Yeah, like when Jeremy was HOH, whenever Laura was there, I did volunteer to go up on the block as so he wouldn't have to or they wouldn't have to nominate somebody else. That's something I feel like I did that was pretty beneficial. Not only did it help separate them and I in the game, but it also allowed us to not put blood in our hands, to not get, somebody else fast forward a few rounds later, whenever Nick and I were on the block, I had the veto. I was coming off. I didn't know if it was Blake or Jeremy that was going to be up as the replacement nominee. I knew both of them were more likely to go home than Nick at that point, just because I felt like they were going to be huge threats. Although Nick would have been better for my personal game at that point, I felt like as far as the alliance, as far as my promises, as far as a lot of things go, that was a move that I needed to keep in the game to maintain the position I was moving forward in. So I feel like I made moves to help keep Jeremy safe multiple throughout the entire game.
Cool. And I think we're about 5 minutes, so I'll try to keep this quick. What was both of your strategies going in, and did it work?
Yeah, I mean, I came in wanting to be social and have a really good social awareness of the game. I didn't want to win HOH until round 3 or 4. I won in round 4. I didn't go on the block early in the game. The first time I was on the block was in round whatever Susie's HOH was. I think it was 5 or 6. And I wanted to try to manage my threat level as best as I could. And I did. I continuously was trying to do that throughout the season.
I absolutely think you succeeded.
Thank you.
Steve?
Like I said, I came in wanting to split the house and then sit myself right in the middle of a very powerful 3-person alliance. I felt like I had Jeremy on one side. I felt like I had Blake on this side. I added Nick to the Blake side. I added Haley to the Jeremy side. That way I had 5 solid votes moving forward, and sat with myself in the center connection of most of it. Anytime that anyone, I even had Megan sitting there working with me as well on the side, that really I never had to, Megan and I had a great relationship where we both had each other's backs moving forward, but that was never something that I had to jump out there and use and do, because the rest of it worked better than I expected it to. And so I feel like my ultimate strategy of coming in, sitting in the middle, splitting the house, and riding my path to Final 3 worked beautifully when you think that I sat next to the Final 3 that I even told Liz when she was walking out the door, this is the boot order that I feel like is best for my game. And other than Amy Megan being flipped into one spot, my entire boot order, it was exactly what I felt like it needed to be.
Cool. Last
It's fine,
question.
too.
Last question, and I'll wrap it up. Okay, I have been in jury, and people have been laughing at my face, saying I wasn't part of the cruise crew. I was just being used by everyone in the cruise crew. So, in your last 2 minutes, can you just please tell me each, 1 minute each, what role did I actually play in your game? Was it?
I'll start first. Like, I will tell you this, Haley was critical to my game. She was absolutely part of cruise crew. I actually was much more loyal to, well, Jeremy, Blake, Haley, Nick. I was afraid of the Hudson Cody connection. Like, I was very, very afraid of that connection. Wasn't sure what that was going to look like. And so when Hudson ended up leaving, that left Cody on an island by himself. And that's why I had to take that shot at that point, is I didn't know which way it was going to go. So you were incredibly valuable to my game, and I hated seeing you leave.
I echo a lot of what Steve said, but in a different way, because I feel like you and I bonded really closely in the early game on a personal level. And then when Steve suggested bringing you in, I was like, perfect, because I already knew that Nick, Blake, and Cody were closer than they wanted us to know. And I knew that they were eventually going to see me as a bigger threat. So I knew I needed other people that were going to be on my side, like you, like Liz, like Amy, to survive the attack that I was eventually going to face from the cruise crew itself. So I was always planning to be more loyal to you than I was to Nick, than I was to Cody, and honestly, even than I was to Steve, because I probably would have taken you to the final 2 over him.
And I felt that, and I'm wrapping up.
From the jump.
Thank you both so much. I'm so proud of you. This vote means absolutely, like, I don't even know how to vote. So I just wanted to say I love you both so much, and congrats. Our wish came true. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Haley. And next up, we have our next juror. We will be having Nick joining us. All right, Nick is here and good. Nick, you are going to have 10 minutes on the clock to talk to the finalist. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
All right, the floor is yours. Have fun.
I first want to start out by saying you skinny bitches are evil and you need to be destroyed. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I got really close to both of you over the course of this game, so I'm very happy to see both of you sitting here. I think regardless of what happens, we have a very deserving winner. So congratulations to both of you. I do want to start with Steve, only because there are 2 things that stood out to me so far that kind of confused me about your game. The first of which was that you had mentioned before that you were scared of a 3-person alliance of me, Cody, and Hudson, when in reality, I was the closest to you and Blake, and you were the one who came to me and told me that I should get close to Cody and Hudson, so that way we kind of had those 2 on either side, because you had Blake more than I did, and you had Jeremy more than I did. So we would have that kind of 6-person with those like little 3. So I'm like kind of confused where like you got that like storyline from. I just kind of want to hear a little bit about that.
Okay, so this was again me trying to write the story. I needed you on that other side, because I ultimately did not need you to be in the me, Blake, and Haley portion of it. I needed you to be in the minority of the 7, because I did feel like you needed me. I knew Cody and Hudson were going to be the people that I wanted to go first in the cruise crew, and I wanted you to continue to stay towards the bottom, so you needed, like, I wanted you as an option if I needed to use it later, with all due love. Like,
Okay, and then my second thing that I wanted to ask you was about the week that we sat next to each other on the block. Before the veto and after the veto, you had made it pretty clear to me privately that you wanted to go over me, and that you were going to volunteer to go. I'm curious on whether or not that was a messy move, one of those messy moves you had mentioned, or if that was like genuinely what you were feeling, because you had also mentioned before you knew you had the votes over me.
Okay, so while both things are kind of true, neither one's 100% true.
Gotcha.
I was going through some emotional stuff at that time, like with some family issues that had come up, and I already didn't think I was going to be able to continue playing. Um, I can go ahead and tell you guys now that I had some really amazing friends talk me into staying and just continuing to try, and it worked out really well for me in a lot of ways as far as home life goes. But it was genuine, and I thought I had burned enough bridges that I was probably going to be the one that went home. I had already been told that I was a social threat at that time. I didn't feel like if I put you and Blake on the block next to each other, I could actually make that vote at that time. I was not in the mental spot at all. And so I felt like I would rather sit on the block and not have to be the one that took you out versus anything. I can tell you that I genuinely didn't campaign against you all that day. I stayed quiet most of the day. Anytime somebody asked me, I would say I appreciate your vote to stay. But I did know that I was in a pretty okay position to stay if I didn't ask to leave.
Gotcha. I guess I'll move on to Jeremy because I don't want to stay on Steve. So Jeremy, the first question I wanted to ask you comes from a lovely friend of mine that I've made over the past couple of weeks. Your partner Mac. I asked him what I should ask you because he wanted to make it a little spicy. So Mac told me that I should ask you a question about how your game is being viewed by the jury. And then kind of have you defend or prove that in any way. So for me, I feel like overall your game from the jury is being viewed as very open and very easy to understand. And everything has been out in the open. I want to know times that you feel like that were true, but I also want to hear about times that you feel like you took a step back and let other people get the blood on their hands and be the bigger target.
Yeah. So I do think that there was a lot of my game in which I did try to do that because I knew that I was being perceived by the other players in the house as a big threat, as a social threat, as a competition threat because I was winning so much. So I knew that having a public enemy or being very open about the way that I was playing my game was my best bet at not then having everybody look at me the way that they looked at Cody in terrifying fear of him getting any further than he was getting. But there were also a lot of times where Blake was in the hot seat because he was HOH or Steve was in the hot seat. And I very intentionally threw a lot of competitions where I was in the top 3, 4, 2, 3 with people like Steve, Blake, you, Cody, while we were good, because I knew that I didn't need that blood on my hands and it was going to end up happening regardless later because my threat level was only going to increase as the time went on. So there were a lot of times where I felt like I had to play very out front, but I also feel like there were a lot of times where I intentionally chose to stay in the shadows because I knew that that would serve me better in the long run.
Gotcha. I'll do a fun question. So for both of you, who is a game player in any reality competition show that you feel like you played the most and why? We'll start with whoever wants to go first.
I'll start. I feel like Todd Herzog, actually from Survivor China, comes to mind because I just watched that one. I absolutely love the idea of taking out the people that you considered to be the strategic threats, put friends on the jury, and stay loyal to the people at the very beginning of the game that you said you would stay loyal to. Like Todd took his day 1 and day 2 people, Amanda and Courtney, to the final 3. I took my day 1 and day 2 people to the final 3. I feel like I played a very loyal yet aggressive villainous game, but I hope the people who are fans of this game can understand that I do feel like it was a good game.
This may be controversial, but I feel like I'm gonna have to say Cassandra on her first season of Big Brother Canada because
Okay.
I feel like she was the social butterfly that was able to try and work her relationships with anybody. She got herself out of some really wickedly crazy situations just by talking to people. And I feel like I emulated a lot of that slipperiness that she had in her game in this season to get myself to the end.
Gotcha. And we have 3 more minutes. So I'll ask one more like fun question. So quickly for both of you, I'll do Jeremy first. Who is the juror that you would, other than Steve, feel the most comfortable sitting next to, and the juror that you would feel the most dangerous sitting next to?
Most dangerous would be Cody.
Hmm.
Most comfortable, probably Laura, simply because I know if I was on the jury, I wouldn't want to vote for someone who won a battle back if they got to the end of the game, just because you were voted out, and that's the, like, my perception of the game. So I feel like a lot of people in this cast would have a similar mindset to that, and so it would make it a more comfortable final two scenario, I guess.
Steve.
The juror that I would be most afraid to sit next to would be Amy. And the one that I would be most comfortable next to would probably be Megan. Only because I know she is a very social, friendly kind of person, but I'm not sure that, like, I know she was playing the game and I know she did a whole lot. I just don't know what her game was, and I don't feel like it was very out in the open. And so I'm not sure how easy it would be to defend that.
All right. Good luck to both of you. Congrats on making it this far.
Thanks,
See
bro.
y'all later. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Nick. We are going to bring in everyone's favorite 3 a.m. sleep paralysis demon, Fabi.
Good morning, Fabi.
There he
Hello.
is. All right, Fabi, you are going to have 10 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, your 10 minutes begins now.
Okay. Well, since I like competition so much, I thought maybe if it's not too much to ask, everyone grab some pen and a paper. So we're gonna play a little quiz.
As long as you don't make me say fucking orbiter moves again.
Hold on a second. I'm looking for a pen. I'm not at home.
Steve went to chop down the tree. Julia, that's giving Once Upon a Time.
Oh, you're right.
Prada's gonna kill me just in the fucking messages while we wait.
I have a pen, y'all. I'm on the ship and I just don't have a pen in my
Oh
room.
yeah. Well then, I guess you can type it in the.
Yeah, I'll type it. I'm sorry, Bobby.
Okay. So because for me, there's the first part is not. You don't need the paper yet. You just need it for the questions later. So first, because for me, this game is always part competitions, part strategic, and part social. I thought I'm gonna do a competition asking strategic and social questions. So the strategic part now. Why or what strategic benefit did y'all have from evicting me? Whoever wants to go first can go first.
I personally, I felt like I had a really good relationship with you, and evicting you wasn't necessarily that I was concerned about you at that time, but I did feel like there was potential that you and Cody would end up working together at some point. And so I felt like taking you out and then being able to get out Cody, who were like the two biggest competition threats, was the best way for me to get myself to the end, because I don't think that I could beat either of you in a lot of these competitions.
I can go ahead and echo that one. So when you left, I actually didn't want you to leave. There was a couple rounds before that I had been like, y'all, Bobby's got 4 comp wins kind of thing. Like, where did that come from? And Bobby had 4 comp wins with nobody saying his name. Nobody was looking Bobby's way. Like, Bobby was completely under the radar. And so it was just like, y'all, we got to watch Bobby. Bobby can't make it too much farther because Bobby's going to end up in the final 4 before we realize it. And so like that whole thing began. But at the same time that was happening, also I was having a lot of trouble with Cody Amy. And I actually had started talking to you because I thought there was a path forward where I could start playing with you for a few rounds, Bobby. But it just so happened to work out that the way the HOHs worked out, you were being targeted, and I was just like, well, it doesn't really help my game, but it also doesn't hurt me, and so I let control of that one go.
Okay. Then now we get to the questions. A bit of the social part. I will ask questions about myself. I feel like that I talk the most to about people while playing this game. So I guess, Jeremy, you will just write it on your paper, but you won't reveal until Steve said his answer, so you don't have to write anything. Steve, you just say the answer then. Okay, the first question is, what time is it for me right now? Okay, Steve sent it me privately. He said 4:33 a.m. Jeremy, the correct answer is 4:33 a.m. Okay, next question.
Too many times while this game was happening.
What is my favorite alcoholic beverage? Yeah, you can turn around. You send it already. Okay, yeah, you both get a point. It's vodka or wine. And then the last question is, which video game I played a lot of times while playing this game?
I should definitely know this because I remember you talking about it, but I'm just gonna guess something.
You can turn around, yeah. Yeah, it's League of Legends, so Jeremy gets the point. So I guess you're tied, which doesn't help. But next thing is, I have 3 minutes. Why should the person you're sitting next to should not win the game over you? I guess Steve can go first now because Jeremy went first the last time.
So I recognize this is going to be an unpopular opinion, and I do definitely feel like I deserve it as well. But I'm not going to be upset if Jeremy does win this game. I feel like Jeremy's played an excellent game, and so I can't really sit here. I won't sit here and rip Jeremy apart, tell you why he shouldn't. I'll tell you why I should all day, but I've played too close. I've worked too hard. I can't.
Okay, Jeremy.
I'm also not going to tear Steve's game apart, but I will say that I think that Steve set a plan in motion that like I said earlier, I was very aware of, and I worked really hard to change that narrative and take control of the season. And I think that the gameplay caught up to Steve's play style, whereas like I started to flourish towards the end game more so.
Okay, that's all I have. Good luck and see you later.
Good night, Bobby.
Bye, Bobby.
Bye.
Thank you, Fabi, for that. And we now bring in our next juror, which is going to be Michael. We're also getting a John Farrell.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Hey, Michael.
Hi. Sorry, I'm like so far behind. I'm still on Bobby's. I didn't know if it was my turn to talk. Okay.
All right, Michael, you will have 10 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, Michael, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Long time no see. First of all, you both earn, and congratulations to both of you. This has been a very, very long game. It's been like 18 rounds of just back and forth, and you two both deserve to be here, obviously, because you guys are there. For my vote, it's really, I'm still up in the air. I thought I knew what I was doing. Your opening statements kind of changed my mind, and now you guys are answering questions and you're changing my mind again. I think as a finalist, you both deserve to have everyone's votes open. I don't think anyone should come into this call and be like, I already know who I'm voting for, and then waste your time with questions. That's not cool at all. So I'm gonna go right into my question. I don't think there's such thing as a perfect game. There's nothing perfect in life, just like this game. So I want to know from each of you, I want Steve to go first on what you think your biggest flaw / weakness was in the game.
My biggest flaw and weakness was how messy I ended up playing. I ended up being more messy than I had to be. I don't want to use the word paranoid, but I'm going to use the word paranoid. I felt like I needed to be 15 steps ahead in every single direction, and it caused me to put walls up that were completely unnecessary and to do things that had no impact on the game at all. And so I feel like because this is my second org, like this is something that I definitely learned is stop trying to play 15 moves ahead and let's only focus on 1 or 2 kind of thing. And so I feel like I just played too big, too hard, too fast, too long. I feel like I need to slow down.
Okay, can you just elaborate on what you think your messy game was, or do you just think the whole thing was messy?
I feel like the whole thing was messy, but I feel like there was I came in trying to write the story, and I knew I had to tell lies. I knew I had to tell truths. I knew I had to tell half truths. I knew I had to spill so much. Like if I heard something from Blake, I needed Jeremy to hear it, so Jeremy knew he could trust me. If I heard something from Jeremy, then Blake needed to hear it. And so like I was under the impression that every single person would hear every single thing I said. And so I was expecting to be labeled as messy and labeled as loose-lipped and labeled as loud. And I was trying to weaponize it. And I feel like it was not as effective as I hoped it would be. And it caused more problems than it benefited me in a lot of ways.
Thank you. And then I guess Jeremy, I guess the question is all yours.
I think my biggest flaw in my game was trusting my allies too much. I think that Steve knew what narrative he wanted to create for this game, and so by trusting him with the information that he was bringing me, I was kind of allowing him to take control of the narrative of the game. And I think that the blind spot almost that I gave to Steve for the first like 5, 6, 7 rounds of the game affected my standing at that point. But once I realized it, then I was able to turn it around. So I feel like I was also aware of the flaw and worked to change it throughout the game.
All right, interesting. So if you guys don't know me enough, I like to see if I'm right and see it. So I have a whole list of what I thought your biggest weaknesses were. The reason why I kept asking Steve what I thought your messiness was, because I think you should have given. I thought you had more examples. Like for example, let's see what I have for you, Steve. I do think you're lying to me on the round I was going home was unnecessary. And for both of you, like Jeremy, you said in your opening statement that my vote was a blindside. I do not think it was a blindside. Megan would not answer me if she was saving me or not. And Blake and Blake and Cody both told me he wasn't looking good. So I thought you said blindside.
I didn't mean a blindside for you. I meant a blindside for Steve and Blake so that they would be pissed off at me.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Fair. Okay. I still don't know whether Steve wanted me out or not. So I just said for you, I think you had no control in your HOHs. You wanted Amy out for a very long time and it never happened because when you were HOH, Jeremy was getting their way a long time. I knew you were going to say that Jeremy could convince you at the end to get rid of me, which is fine. But me going, Steve, was not good for your game. In my eyes, it was only good for Jeremy's game because I was trying to go after Jeremy for like 3 rounds in a row. Same thing with your second HOH, 5-minute warning, cool. So with your second HOH, Amy did not go again, and who got themselves in a good position? Jeremy. So I'm just saying your HOHs, I think, was working for your alliance, not for yourself. Jeremy, I put for your biggest flaw was, and when you kind of answered it in a weird way, I say that you weren't flashy enough in the beginning and you were a little bit slow in the first half, which now does kind of make sense because you just said you were helping Steve. So you kind of answered my question. The only thing I didn't like about your game is that I think you actually did make it very obvious that you were with Steve in the beginning. You even told me on the conversation we had during the Andrew Laura thing, you're like, yeah, I told Steve everything and Steve told everyone everything. So I clocked that you two knew everything first before everyone else did, but no big deal. I just have one more thing for Steve. I'm sorry. What hurts me a little bit not to make this all about me is that not once have you mentioned anything about the alliance you, me, Blake, and Nick had. I think even though you were in a line with Nick and Blake the whole time, I still think, I'm not saying I didn't win much. There was nothing I could do personally, physically to help you, but I want to know why that alliance was not mentioned at all in your opening statement or in anything. Like, because we kept saying we were a 4. You guys stopped trusting me because of the Haley vote. But I just want to know where was that in your mind in the game? Because it sounds like it wasn't really it really was just kind of invisible.
It wasn't invisible by any means. I had been using that one. It just ended up becoming something that lost value for me closer in the game. I knew you and Nick were super tight. I knew you guys were super, super tight. I knew Blake and Nick were going to be a final 2 deal. I knew you and Nick were going to be closer. And then I ultimately knew that you and Blake would have been closer than me. And so I felt like I had Blake, but I didn't have you, nor I had Nick at the time. And so it didn't value me at all to put a lot of faith into that alliance, as 3rd would have been my best positioning at all. 4th, probably way more likely in it. And so because I was writing the bottom of that one, I didn't feel like I was able to commit to that at all. I would like to reply to your comment on my HOHs, if that's okay with you. What?
I think my internet's cutting out. Is that? Oh, I'm here. Okay. Yeah, my internet's cutting out, but you can go on about that. That's fine. We had 3 minutes.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know. So on my very first HOH, whenever you were the one up, I had initially wanted Amy to be the person that went home, like Cody and Amy. Cody was my target. Amy was my backup plan. the minute I put you up as a renom, you genuinely were my pawn. Amy was my target. And Jeremy called me that night and said, hey, listen, I don't think this is a smart play. I think you're making an emotional choice and not a strategic one. And I really think you need to think this through. I went back, thought the whole thing through, thought about the Eat, Pray, Slay chat, how I was on the bottom, realized that if you left, that brought both Nick and Blake closer to me. And so, or sorry, no, Nick was gone. I'm sorry, that put Blake way closer to me. And then we started talking about it. And because Blake had already started to separate himself from Jeremy and I, we knew at that point right there, if Amy left and Cody won HOH, Jeremy and I were going to be sitting on the block next to each other. Like Jeremy and I would have sat on the block next to each other 100%. And so we split the whole thing up and made it seem like we were not in agreement. Said, oh, he blindsided me. I wanted Amy gone, which in all actuality, I was pushing for Amy to stay and for you to be the one that left. It worked. You left. I got annoyed. Cody won HOH and my ass was safe. And so like I did things like that throughout the game that did ensure that my safety was going to be here at the expense of somebody that was with my alliance member.
Okay. We're just gonna probably have to agree to disagree on that one. Even when I was getting HOH, what a 1 minute. Okay, Timmy's about to take me out. When I was HOH, you weren't going up with my initial nom. You were only gonna be my renom just because I wasn't gonna put up Blake. But I mean, I still think you played a good game. I wasn't trying to be harsh or anything. I wish you both the best of luck. You still got 6 more people to do. So good luck, have fun, all love. Can we talk to you all later? And thank you guys, Timmy, for having me again. Bye.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Thank you, Michael. It was a pleasure having you here, but it is now time for Miss Homegirl with the sprinting feet. Connecting her audio the fastest she can. She's sprinting. Oh, that's Nick's timer. All right, and Elizabeth's here. Elizabeth, hello.
Hello. Sorry, I'm watching the live stream and it's a little bit loud.
All right, Elizabeth, you are going to have 10 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
I believe so, yeah.
All right, your time begins now.
Okay. It's been a minute. Okay, so I don't have very many questions, honestly. Mostly just because this was my first org, as I'm sure both of you know. So I spent like the whole time kind of trying to learn everything I could and trying to sort of catch my breath in the game. So for the most part, my questions are just kind of like learning experiences for me, if that's all right. Because I feel like otherwise I have a pretty good idea of the way both of you have played the game. I got the chance to work with you both, as far as I know, which is pretty cool. So it was nice. So the first question I'm going to ask then is, I'm still learning things. You two both have more experience with orgs than I. What have you learned throughout the course of this game about, the way that they're played?
I'll start. This was my second org ever. Like I finished the first one the night this one started. This is my very first ever Big Brother org. I would not call myself a super fan of Big Brother. I'm way more on the Survivor side. And so like I was learning this along with you. I can tell you I learned that messy for strategic reasons isn't really a good reason to be messy. Even though I initially thought it was going to be coming in. And so there's just a human element in it that I didn't account for. And so I would say definitely account for the human element always.
Yeah, I've been, like I said in my opening, I've been playing these for 2.5 years. So like I love to learn something from every game. And I think the thing that I learned the most this season is how, despite all of the psychology knowledge that I have, people can still make decisions that don't necessarily like make sense in my head. And I always have to be prepared for that scenario and to trust my instincts about how I'm then going to react to that scenario.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So my next question was, because that makes a lot of sense and that's really cool stuff to take away from the game. So I also want to be able to take away, more information that I came in with. So to help me kind of get an idea of the way the game was played for everybody and for you two in particular, how did I personally as a player end up factoring into your games, your individual games?
Similarly to Haley, you were huge for my game. Once again, I knew that the cruise crew was eventually going to see me as a big threat and turn on me because Steve was already putting that idea into my head. So I felt like I needed people outside of that were going to be on my side and who I could also be loyal to and show them that I was an honest person. And I really genuinely was with you, like up until the moment that you went home, and I would have taken you right to final 5 at the very least, and depending on how that played out, I probably would have taken a shot at either Steve or Blake at that point. So you were a very integral part in my game because you and Amy both allowed me to pivot from the cruise crew being blown up and allowed me to get further in the game in a better position than I was previously to that.
I was not as closely aligned with you as you were to Jeremy, and I absolutely knew that one. I knew that both you and Amy were both much closer to Jeremy, but the thing is I did feel like I was incredibly valuable to Jeremy because I was feeding information that I do believe that he was believing at the time. And so I felt like you and I were working with each other, even though we and I mean genuinely working with each other, even though we weren't ever super tight on a personal, super game level kind of thing. Once Haley left, once Cruise Crew was kind of blown up, we had targeted Cody, he had given that whole thing up. It was really down to myself, Blake, Jeremy, you, and I felt like that was my army that I was running the whole game with. And then Megan was my side person that I still had, that I was running the game with. And so I would have happily taken you to probably 4 or 5. But at that point, I would have gotten scared of the Jeremy connection.
Cool. And then my strategic question, you know what I mean? Like the last question I have about the logistics of the game. And then I have a fun one. Is we've been talking about for me and also for Steve, we're not super familiar with orgs, but from what you guys have seen from your orgs, what do you think was the most surprising move in the game from your perspective? Just something that completely caught you off guard. I'm just curious.
Cody using the veto on me, and then Cody also throwing the veto to me the following round.
I can echo that. I was working with Jeremy at that point, and Jeremy told me, Cody's talking about throwing the veto to me. And I was like, holy shit, if I have an opportunity to throw it to you, then I will too. We were the final 3 in that competition, and Cody immediately submitted a puzzle and then immediately took it back. And I thought, oh my goodness, he's actually going to check and see if Jeremy's the one that submits. And so I was like, I don't have one ready. I had a puzzle that I could submit, and I was like, in case Jeremy's wrong, no chance do I need to submit one because I need to be the person that leads. I just couldn't believe that deep in after I had done it that Cody actually threw the veto that deep.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. And then I have one fun question. What was your favorite competition that you played the whole game? Just something that was really fun to you.
I'm muted. That one that I was just watching while y'all were competing in, and y'all had to do a bunch of random ass fucking competitions, and you were running around with your little feet to get the fucking word spelled. That was so funny for me. Yes, thank you, Timmy. Monsters Inc. Battle Floor. That was the funniest moment I have probably ever seen.
I would say my favorite competition would probably be the final 4 HOH, just because of how hard it really was. That was me pushing myself well past what I thought I could do with balancing the cup and standing on one foot. I sucked for a really long time, and just rocked it through kind of thing. Like I was really proud of myself. Like that's my favorite competition.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Alrighty, well, those are all the questions that I had. It was awesome to play the game with you guys and to, like be able to come and say hi again before the end. And I will talk to you both soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Liz, Cody is currently at work. He will probably be here when the votes are being read, but he did submit a video that I have not watched, so we will all get to watch it together. Let's see what Cody had to say. Y'all can see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I can't hear it.
I can barely hear it as well. Let me see if I can turn up the volume on that player real quick. Okay, let's try that one more time, besties.
Hey everyone. Unfortunately, I can't be there for live night. Well, not live night. Wow. I can't be there for the jury questioning because nobody wanted my damn shift at work. So this is the fallback. I do want to say to both of you before we get started with this, congrats on making it to the end again. You two did what 16 people couldn't, and you should be incredibly proud of making it to the end and making it to the end of the journey so you can say what you deserve to win this game. I tried to do just listening to people and trying to figure out like where all the pieces came together for each of you, because since we have 11 of us here, we have 11 unique perspectives on the game, 11 opinions, which big mess, mind you. But thankfully we have 11 voices that can hopefully figure out the person that we collectively want to win tomorrow night. That being said, my vote, I mean, it kind of has to be decided. I'm not going to be there tonight. My vote is decided strictly after finding out things within the jury chat that I personally don't think should happen within a game. And these are just things that I really don't agree with. Steve, I don't know if they have been talked about already or will be talked about already or won't be talked about already. Unfortunately, these are against you. And because of that, I can't see myself wanting the game you played and how it happened to be the one to represent Big Brother Disney, because I don't think that they should happen in a game in general. That being said, I wish both of you the best of luck in being able to campaign one last time to try to sway 6 votes onto you, and nothing but love from my end. I'll see you two probably like, I don't know, I'm hoping to be on my phone by 11:30 tonight, so good luck. Don't get your asses reamed too much by the jury.
All right, so no questions there, so that'll be the end of our time with Cody. And we will move on to our next juror, unless either of you guys wants to respond to any of the things that Cody said. We will move on to Megan, unless one of you two wants to take a moment to respond. All right, with that being said, I'm going to let in our next juror, which is going to be Miss Megan. All right, Megan, are you here? She said off camera and muted.
She said no.
No, I'm here.
All right, Megan, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, Megan, your 10 minutes starts now.
Look at this. Look at this final two. One of you there doesn't surprise me. The other one. No, I'm just kidding. You're both sitting there like, breathe, namaste. See, I got you to laugh. You missed this. You know you did. You know. Hold on, I just now that we're there. So my question for you both, you've done a really good job like owning your game so far, in my opinion. So you're not making this decision easy. So thank you. But what I'd like you to do is, either of you can go in any order. I have no preference, but I want you to pick one person from the jury. Doesn't have to necessarily be me. It could be, but it's fine if it's not. Pick a person from the jury and tell me why that person should be in your place and why. Wait, did I just explain that the right way?
It made sense.
Okay.
I personally would have to say Blake because I think that Blake played an incredible game and he also won part 2 of the final HOH. And so if anybody else was to not be sitting here, I would be very happy to see Blake here because I would probably be voting for him to win.
I agree, and I also say Blake. I feel like Blake played a heroic game, and I feel like Blake actually played a better game than I did. I hope that I can get to the point where I can play these games with as much control and still be in contention for hero of the season when I know very much that I am not. I feel like Blake absolutely deserved to be here, and I know that's why I didn't want to sit next to Blake.
Gotcha. Interesting. So is my thinking face apparently right now. I don't normally do this, but let's see what else was I going to ask you. Oh, Steve, you made a mention of how, you had me on the side. Why wasn't I a more important part of your game?
You weren't on the side. Like, I know I've said that. I don't mean it to come across that way. I feel like at all options, I tried to have option A, option B, option C. And I expected the cruise crew to completely explode and implode, and I needed to have one or two people that were not involved in the cruise crew that I could fall back and work with on the outside up. So it wasn't that I was less with you, I was just very much trying to keep it separate.
Okay. Jeremy. You said this is something you said to me on my way out, and I have to say I appreciate you being honest and being like, look, I am gonna vote. Excuse me, vote to evict you because I would take a shot at you, and I absolutely would have. I would have taken it the round before had I been opened my head more and been like, duh, Blake, use the veto, let's do it. But so well played. I really have I have nothing bad to say. You're both fantastic human beings, and I know you miss your good morning, lovely humans. So those are coming back starting tomorrow, for sure. But wish you all both of you best of luck, and bring it. Just keep owning your shit. Oh, stuff, whatever. See, the Bostonian's coming out now. Watch out. But own your shit. Go wicked far with it. Well, you're as far as you can go. So park your car over there and let's go. I will have the snacks ready for the reunion when we are in person. And there we go.
Can't wait.
Bye, guys.
I can't wait.
Bye, Megan.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, Queen. We have our next juror up, which is the literal hurricane magnet herself. Miss Amy's on her way. There she is.
Hi, sorry.
Hi, Amy, you ready?
I am. Am I echoing?
Not at all.
Okay, yay.
All right, your 10 minutes begins now.
Hi to both of you. Long time no see. First of all, congratulations for being final 2. That's a huge accomplishment. And I have a lot of notes. Because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to ask. They're in a notebook, not on my wall. But so first I want to start with Jeremy. I think it was super impressive how you were able to go a large part of this game. Like I was not in alliances, and even I was being told that you were one of the biggest threats in this game, but you were able to manage that threat level. So much so that like you had people outside of your alliance like myself, Liz, and Cody, just protecting you as well as your alliance, to the point where you didn't need to win competitions. And in my personal view, I think it's really impressive to be able to go through a whole game and not need to win, and to be able to rely on your social game. So I think that's really cool. And I just wanted to ask the biggest question of the game: how were you able to convince Cody to throw that veto?
I really, honestly, to this day, still do not know what I said to that man to make him even consider it, but he came back from that 15-20 minute call after like 25 minutes probably. There was like 10 minutes left maybe until the veto ceremony was happening, and he was like, I'm gonna save you, I'm probably gonna get nominated next round, let's like fight this out together and see what happens. And I was like, oh yeah, Cody, let's go together, let's do this thing together. And then right after Megan won the HOH, he was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going up, and I think it's going to be next to you or Blake, and like whichever one of us isn't on the block, we should throw the veto to. And I was like, okay, knowing that Steve had just made a trio with me, Megan, and Steve, so that the other two would then go on the block. So then Cody threw the veto to me, I used it on Blake, and then we sent Cody home. Literally, I attribute it fully to my social game and being able to continuously work my relationship with Cody, because everybody believed that I was so open that I was actually willing to like fully flip and keep Cody in the game.
I'm still like in shock that happened. It makes no sense to me, but in my opinion, it was the biggest move of the game. So Steve, moving on to you. I know we had a conversation before I left, but I still have questions for you. And it was really hard for me to decide what my questions would be. But before I left, you said, or I had asked you a question, and you said that it would all be explained here at the final when you were explaining all of your strategy. But there is that one personally important piece that you have not touched upon. And it is, why did you not speak to me, and why did you ice me out of your game?
Okay, so it was not that I was trying to, oh, my internet cable connection is unstable. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't that I was wanting to ice you out at all. My mom got diagnosed with cancer. Her cancer diagnosis came back halfway through. And I, at that point, had decided that I was going to full-blown quit the game, did not think I was able to continue. And so I told you that, hey, you know, like, I look forward to talking to you after the game. Like, I'm so sorry. I genuinely thought I was quitting. Went, talked to Prod, told them, hey guys, I think I'm going to have to quit. If we were going into live night, they said, if you ask to get voted out, you can continue to stay in jury. And so I chose not to quit. I decided to wait till live night to ask to be voted out. Before live night, I ended up speaking to Jeremy, Blake, Nick, Haley, even Cody. Told them, hey, because it was part of the cruise crew, hey guys, it looks like I'm gonna have to quit, got some stuff going on. And they told me, stay in the game, just stay in. Let us, let us protect you for a little while, work with us a little bit, you take a back seat. And so I did. Decided to stay. At that point, 100% had just forgot that I told you that I would talk to you after the game. I wasn't trying to completely shun you and not talk to you. It was just, I genuinely thought I was leaving. Worked out to where I didn't come back in. It was 3 or 4 days later, and you were like, well, you told me I'll talk to you after the game. And I was like, there's no way I can explain this and it makes sense. And so I tried to give you a small understanding, but it just ultimately to where you and I weren't on the same side of the house. We weren't working together. I knew you were very much Jeremy, and I knew you couldn't get very far. You were the story of the season. If you sat in final two, I think you win unanimously over almost every, to be honest, with all the crap you put up with all the, you were nominated more than absolutely anyone. You put up with more crap than anyone, and yet you were still here, still friendly, still smiling. Like, you never, ever wavered on that. You were so dangerous that there's no way I could take you to Final Four. Like, there was no way I couldn't take you out. And I want you to know that had you, me, and Blake the final 3, I definitely feel like Blake cuts me at 3, and I felt like you cut me at 3. Where in with this position I was in, I felt like both Jeremy and Blake took me to 2. And so that was a decision that I had to make for myself. Just wanted to let you know that one, but I couldn't tell you at the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we all figured that, and that is what would have happened. And I do appreciate your answer, and I wish your mom well. That being said, you
She's
didn't
better
speak to
now.
me before that, and you didn't speak to me the entire rest of the game, except to ask me about my non-existent husband and to talk to me about archaeology in Jurassic Park. And those were our only conversations. And so that's why it didn't really make sense to me, because leading into my next question, Steve, can you please define jury management?
Yeah, I believe that jury management is putting enough good votes in to counteract the bad votes. Like I said, I fully admit that I did not play the perfect game. I fully admit that I did not play the perfect game. And I knew coming into this that there was no way I had your vote. I still am incredibly proud of the game I played. I still feel like I deserve it. I just recognize that I will not get your vote.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off there because I have a warning. I disagree with that definition wholeheartedly. But I wanted to give you both 30 seconds. Can you please tell me why the other person should win the game over you?
Jeremy had to play from the front. I feel like Jeremy had to play from the absolute front. I feel like Jeremy had to play with the biggest target on his back the majority of the entire game. I feel like Jeremy is an unbelievably sweet person and absolutely deserves this win.
All right, thank you. And Jeremy?
I think Steve became aware of the way to position himself in the house really, really quickly and was able to use those relationships that he built super early to get himself to the end of the game and to keep himself protected through most of the game. And I think that that is a great story to be sitting in the final 2 with.
Awesome. Thank you so much. One other comment that's been said by the jury is that you're both very game bot-y people. So can you give me in like very short, what's your favorite memory or like the best thing that happened outside of your game plan during this game?
I'll go first for this one. There was actually shortly after the cruise crew was made, it was talked about that like we would all go on a trip at some time together, which then evolved into like other plans and ideas. But it was literally just the 6 of us sitting on call talking about like wanting to go on a trip together and meet up, and like realizing that I had made actual friends with a lot of these people in the game, and that was probably actually going to continue for once was really exciting to me, because I find that a lot of times you make those connections, they seem really strong, and then the game ends and they kind of die. And I feel like these ones won't.
Perfect. And Steve?
I can mirror the same thing. I feel like I've made genuine friends in this game. I do play a very game bot style game. I knew I was going to play that. I feel like that I have made connections in this game that surpassed the game bot and have hit to the real level connections. And those people see me as not a game bot, while the other people I'm sure absolutely do. And so it's those connections that have risen above the game bot that I value a lot.
Okay, cool. I don't know if I have time left, but I just wanted to make one more comment. Steve, you said during your opening statement that the only vote out that was out of your control was Megan, but then you, during Bobby's time, you said that that was not part of your plan. And then you also said when it was me versus Michael, that Michael going was not part of your plan, which doesn't really make sense because I was always gonna.
All right.
Anyway,
gonna be your.
Good luck to all of you. You guys played a great game.
All right, thank you so much, Amy. It has been nothing short of a pleasure. We are now going to bring in our final member of the jury, the one you guys saw the most recently. We bring to you Austin Skelly.
Austin!
Oh my gosh, Austin Skelly, it's so nice to see you on the jury.
Oh my god, thank you.
Blake, are you ready for your time to start?
I am.
All right, your 10 minutes begins now.
Okay, so hello, my fellow villains of Aradon. First and foremost, I just want to say I think you both preached about friendship a lot in this game. So I want to kind of put that to the test. I want each of you to give me a compliment, and whichever compliment is the best gets my vote.
I think that you are one of the best talkers in any org that I have ever played, because I think that your ability to frame the situation that you're approaching in a way that makes it seem advantageous to both people or positive to both people is really strong all the time.
Okay.
Blake, I think you have absolutely killed the moniker of Blake the Snake. You came into this game saying that you wanted to not play a villainous game. You said you wanted to come in and try to squash that, and I feel like you absolutely have. I do feel like you played a heroic game. I feel like you played a heroic game beside two people who were playing pretty villainous games. But I don't feel like you ever got caught in the crossfire on a lot of it. There was many times whenever I had to paint you and Jeremy as huge threats because you guys were better players than I was, and I needed to be needed by you guys. You have the experience to put it together. I absolutely think you deserve the win. I feel like you absolutely deserve or played a better game than I did, and I did not want to sit next to you in the end. I feel like you win this game.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for the compliments, but y'all would be absolutely crazy to think that I'd base my vote off of that, so thank you. So I'm gonna start out with Steve. Oh, Stevie. You know, playing this game very closely with you, I got to see a lot of your thoughts and your thought processes throughout the game. There was just a small little issue with that. A lot of your thoughts and a lot of the thought processes that you came up with were completely out there and elaborate. And I tried to bring you back to logistics. And 99% of the time, you chose actively not to listen to me. And the fact that you think that you had a better shot against Jeremy than you did against me just shows that maybe you weren't as socially aware as you thought you were. Next up, one of those antics that you did was put a target on Jeremy and I's back, thinking that we would not have any other options but you. That's what you told me on a one-on-one call. I think that you failed at that because you can ask several members on the jury. Jeremy and I both had several other options to go with besides you. Also, you touched on kind of jury management. And when we were talking to each other, you kind of explained to me that you wanted to make friends with people and then place them on the jury because you think that you could get their vote. I don't know if you successfully did that, because from being in the jury chat, I think you did quite the opposite. Next up, final six onward. You were a complete jerk. You were cocky, you were arrogant, you celebrated every little thing in front of people. And I just want to know, since you were such a jerk, why should I not give Steve Hutcherson a taste of his own medicine? I'll be Dr. Murphy coming out of the woodworks, giving you a shot of your own medicine. Why don't you deserve that, since you were such a jerk?
I 100% deserve it. Like, I 100% deserve it. And I said that at the beginning. Like, I feel like that was probably the move that I made that I regret the most. I felt like at the time my target was pretty big, because I did know there was a lot of people that had my name in their mouth. And I needed to piss enough people off that they thought that sitting next to me in the final two was a good idea. Unfortunately, I felt like the most likely person to flip against me was you. Thought you were going the Cody direction. And so I did start to separate myself from you quite a bit and pretty early on. And you are very right. You definitely did come to me multiple times to try to woe me up. But at the time I was writing the story and I was trying to separate myself from you a little bit because I didn't know what direction you were planning on going. When it came to the Michael vote, I did have to, like, I did lie to you. And that's whenever I did start playing the asshole role. And I did know that I was wanting to continue to roll the game with you all the way deep. Like, I never was considering like flipping against you, but I did need you to actively not be so happy with me. I needed people to be pissed off at me. And so it was a bad strategic move. It is not something I feel like worked, but it is something I wanted to try to see. This is my second organ. I'm trying to figure out what I can and can't get away with, type of thing. And that was something that I was trying to figure out how to diminish my target. I thought that was a path that was viable. Turns out it was not. And so if you do not feel like you can reward me with it, I understand that. I completely get it. That was a shortcoming I had. But it is something that I can recognize. I recognized before you said that. It was not something that worked. It's not something that I will ever do again. But it is something that there was a lot of thought into why I tried to do it.
Well, I hope after tonight you can see that I was not ever going to take Cody to the end. I was going to take you, because I think my actions proved that by actually being actively engaged in trying to get Cody to not use the veto and voting Cody out the next round. So I don't get where that theory necessarily came from. Again, bringing it back to logistics and evidence. Jeremy, you know, I was gonna come in here and be all kumbaya with you, but after watching the live stream and hearing that you kind of wanted to take the shot at me several different times throughout the game, it's just kind of alarming to me, because at Final Five, when Steve let you know that I wanted to take the shot at you, you came at me in my PMs and you were kind of gaslighty. I didn't take it personally. I love you on a personal level, but it does come across very hypocritical because you are wanting to do the same exact thing. So tell me why you deserve my vote.
I think I deserve your vote because I never, yes, ostensibly I looked like I was choosing Amy over the group, but like I was never actually going against you. You decided that I was going against you. So when I came at you, it was frustration because I was like, I'm still trying to be with you and show you that I want to be loyal to you, but you're not even considering using the veto on me. Would I have considered taking a shot at you at 5 or 4 if I had the opportunity? Yes, absolutely. Because like I said earlier, if there was one person in this jury that I think should be sitting here more than me, it's you, because you played a phenomenal game. So in the end game, yes, I did consider flipping on you, but I was never going to flip on you any earlier than that.
Alrighty. I have a question from the jury that Miss Susie would love to be asked. What is your favorite T-Swift album?
Red.
This is a problem because I don't know album names. I just know songs. But whichever one has Look What You Made Me Do on it.
Okay. Another fun question. So if you think that one pre-juror deserves to be on the jury and didn't make it, who would it be and why?
And didn't make it? Andrew.
Hudson.
I feel like Hudson walked, so I would also say Hudson if he hadn't walked, but I feel like his personal situation was the reason that he left, and it wasn't so much because he got like cut in the game too soon. Andrew was playing hard and probably could have gone quite far in this game, but because I took it into my own hands to go after him so hard, he got pre-jury.
Okay.
I would say Hudson, because I feel like Hudson was locked. I don't feel like Hudson was going to miss the merge at all. And so by him walking, I absolutely feel like he was robbed after jury spot.
Alrighty. I just want to say I do think that both of you played good games. I also think that both of you made some questionable decisions throughout the game, and you very well exposed yourself. Steve, you vocally exposed yourself to me several times in stuff that you were doing behind the scenes. Jeremy, actions speak louder than words sometimes. And you basically exposed yourself with Amy and Liz, like, very early on. But nonetheless, I think both of you deserve the spot. I'm a little crushed that I didn't make it, especially that close, but it is what it is. I love both of you, and I can't wait to see you on New Year's.
All right. Thank you so much, Blake. We will be seeing you very soon, but for now, this is your time to leave.
Alrighty. Bye.
All right. You guys have gone through all the jurors, and it is your final opportunity to address back to them your final closing statements. Jeremy, as you went first with the opening statement, Steve, you will be going first. Steve, your 10 minutes begins now.
Guys, I won't take up too much of your time. I'm just going to shoot you as it is type of thing. I did not play a perfect game. There are things that I will definitely learn and improve on for next time. However, I do feel like my story was what wrote the season. I feel like my positioning was better than most. I feel like my pushing Jeremy and Blake as my meat shield strategy towards the front, put the huge target on them, ride behind them, push as hard as I can, worked for the most part. I feel like I was in the position of power for the vast majority of things. To counteract or to reply to Amy, since I didn't get a chance to say something to her whenever she got booted off. Like there were things like Bobby's vote that didn't necessarily go the way I really wanted it to go. There was not a better alternative that I could really want to push for. And so like that was one that I wanted to work with Bobby, but if I needed to go a different direction, I absolutely could have. And it ended up working to where I went with Liz instead of Bobby. Just different decisions that were made. And so just know that I'm very proud of my game, whether I finish first or second. Like I'm so proud of my game. I'm holding my head up high. I'm thrilled that I made the final two. I'm thrilled that I sat next to Jeremy, my day one number one. I'm thrilled that I sat next to my day two number two in the final three. I accomplished my main goal of getting us three to the final three. Even though Jeremy and Blake were both actively targeting each other, I strong-armed them both to get to the final three. I know that wasn't the most popular decision, but it is the decision I felt was most important to who I am and what I valued at the time. And if I finish second, I am very, very thrilled at my decision-making process. For anyone who I offended or made upset, I genuinely am sorry. This is a game of Mario Kart or Monopoly, and I had a red turtle shell or a boardwalk, and I'll absolutely play any game I play in as hard as I can possibly play in it. I hope people do the same thing with me. I don't want to ever feel like I was handed a win. And so vote for who you feel like played the best game. It's the only thing I can ask. Other than that, we're all friends, no hard feelings. Everything is nothing but love.
All right, Jeremy, the floor will be yours. You'll have 10 minutes. You're good.
Okay. I wanted to take a second to address Amy's question about jury management, just because I think that this is something that I was very intentional about in this season. Every single one of you on the jury, I believe, except for Nick and Fabi, was told ahead of time that I was going to be voting you out. And I probably gave you a super vague reasoning of why I was voting you out and that I would tell you later, but that is part of my jury management. You are all human behind these computer screens, and I would want to know if I was going home and there's nothing that I can do. So I try to give the same kind of grace to every other person in this game, whether if the circumstances call for it and I have to be a snake, then I will be a snake and I will not tell someone. But I was very intentional about the way that I played this game because I knew that being out front, out loud, and out big as a threat was going to be my best bet at getting to the end of this game. I worked tirelessly from when I realized that Steve was painting me as the target until nearly the end of the game to make sure that I was not the primary target for anybody. And needless to say, it worked, considering I still don't have a vote cast against me, like I mentioned in my opening speech. I was fighting with all of the odds against me by someone that I was working with extremely closely and still thrived to get to the end. Yes, I made moves that were snaky. Yes, I had other things going on in the background behind my alliances, but at the end of the day, I can still say that I played this game. I was loyal to Steve all the way to the end, and that I managed to flip the narrative and get myself into a position where I could throw a lot of competitions all the time. So I think that I deserve this win, and I feel like I have played as hard as humanly possible, and I hope that you'll consider voting for me because you think that I played the best game.
All right, Jeremy, thank you so much. And thank you to both of you. At this time, jurors who are watching this on the live stream, I'm going to have you guys send in your votes to your prod chat. Once you have sent in that vote to your prod chat, you are able to rejoin the waiting room. Once I have all of the jury's votes in their prod chats, I will let you all into the Zoom chat as well for the revealing of the winner of season 7. Until
Can
then,
I go pee real quick while we do
yeah,
this?
y'all can talk, you can relax, you can breathe.
I got to pee.
Game's out of your hands at this point.
I feel that having to pee after a finale, though.
Isn't that what the pens were for?
Ew.
Personally, John, I wouldn't know.
Trying to bring some laughter in.
It's laughter they're after.
I mean, normally I just look in the mirror for some good laughs, but
whale.
John, you're beautiful.
I love John.
that James Blunt song, definitely not about me.
I want to, can we make I Heart John Farrell BB Disney merch?
Yes.
Please. Sammy can make it.
I have all the designs for BB Disney merch. I just haven't made any yet.
Okay, now I can breathe now because I peed.
I just want to say, while we're here, and now that y'all are done, I'm so proud of both of you.
Thank you.
You did it. I know finales are so hard and stressful sometimes, but just know it's a game and that we love you and that we're proud of you and that you played really, really hard to get here, and just sitting here in this call is a really big deal, and you should be very proud of yourselves just for that alone. So, mwah.
Thanks, Mom.
I mean, I freaking love you.
Did you think that was Timmy the whole time?
No, I said Jeremy. I freaking love you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you said Timmy. I
Me
freaking love
too.
you. I
The
sorry.
disrespect thinking Madison sounds like Timmy.
I thought I was like,
Y'all would not believe the pre-juror we have sitting in the waiting room. Imagineers.
Is it
oh,
Rachel? I hope it's
send it to
Rachel.
the chat.
I hope it's Rachel.
Oh my god.
I was Sarah. That would be the one I'd at least see coming.
No, the one that is in there is probably the most shocking one. No, it is.
We still don't have everyone the jury vote though.
That's so shocking and exciting.
Still waiting on jury votes from people. People are taking their time.
Madison, Timmy, I am an hour away from y'all.
I just checked Life 360 not 2 seconds ago. I did. I was like, oh, she's almost to Daytona.
We had to stop at Bussy's.
I did. Gotta make a Bussy run.
How long is that drive?
10 hours.
Yeah, it's like 9.5-ish. It was 6.5 from home to Bussy's, and then another like 2.5 hours from there.
Gotcha.
Look where I'm at right now.
Oh my god.
Nice.
I'm in the middle of freaking Gulf of Mexico.
You're not that far from Florida. Come say hey.
That's what I'm saying. Let me just
I will
hijack this
say,
shit.
we do have all the votes locked in. I do want to let our pre-juror in before we let in all the other jurors. Please welcome in Miss 17th place, Miss Sarah.
Icon, legends.
Literally the greatest human I've ever met in my life. Is she even here? Who knows? Am I glad she joined? Absolutely.
Is she even here? Who knows?
Oh, we also got Hudson.
Hudson!
Oh, Hudson, I love you.
Good morning, Hudson.
Good morning, Keaton. Madison, I love you.
Aww.
Hudson, I missed you.
So long.
I missed all of you. Oh my gosh. Hi.
I don't know. I texted Sarah. I don't know if she's realized she's been let in yet.
And before everybody else comes in on
The flops are here.
Not bad.
Madison, I love you.
So Jeremy and Steve,
Good morning,
I will be doing a final after show with the two of you. Whether you guys want to do it together or separate will be completely up to you guys. But we will discuss that after everything tonight.
Oh, I don't think Cody has the link to the jury because Cody wasn't here.
That's true.
Jeremy, I'll let you make that call. I'm good with either.
Honestly, I feel like we should just do it together.
I would rather do it together, so we did this whole thing together, so.
Speaking of together, let's get together and welcome in the members of the jury. Haley, Michael, Megan, Amy, Susie, Laura, Nick, Blake, Fabi, Liz, and I think that's everyone.
It's been so long since I've seen all these people on my
Oh,
screen.
this is so full. Holy shit.
Wow, it's crowded in here.
Oh my god.
Look at all these
It's almost like there were 18 of us.
I don't remember that.
Oh my god, Hudson!
Wait, oh my
so many
god.
people.
Wait,
guys, it's-
I have to say, oh my gosh, all of you are here. Hi, I missed you so much.
And guys, it's not just Hudson. Queen Sarah, 17th place, is also here.
Yes, Sarah.
Period, Sarah. First HOH queen.
Y'all remember when I said on the very first Zoom that like seeing all y'all's faces together on the first night is one of my favorite moments of the season? This is also one of my favorite moments of the season, is when it all comes together.
Love that.
Oop, I think Sarah is officially connected to audio. Everyone say hi, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Mom.
Hello. Sorry, I got a new phone and it took me a fat minute.
This is truly our first HOH.
Right, is this the battle bag part 3 or that
There's actually another battle. Actually, another battle bag.
One of
The
my
number
favorite
of times that we joked
battle
about
bag.
that in jury chat.
Whoever wins has to face against Sarah in another finale.
Yeah.
Laura.
Are we gonna be able to talk, Timmy?
Yeah, obviously it's gonna be me. Either that or I'm gonna get second in another jury now.
All right, guys, we have Cody is here now, so we have the entire jury plus 2 of our pre-jurors, Sarah and Hudson.
Hey.
So, guys, let's get to the fun stuff. Let's reveal the votes.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
The
Oh
votes
wait, are you talking about these votes or like
I'm going to ask that we all go on mute for this. So I am going to start revealing the votes of who each person voted for. We are going to start in no particular order, starting with Laura. Laura has voted for Jeremy to win this season of Big Brother Disney. Susie has voted for Jeremy to win this season of Big Brother Disney. It's 2 votes Jeremy, 0 votes Steve. Haley has voted for Steve to win this season of Big Brother Disney. Nick has voted for Steve to win this season of Big Brother Disney. Fabi, Michael, Elizabeth, Cody, Megan, Amy, and Blake have all voted for Jeremy to be the winner of this season of Big Brother Disney. Congratulations, Jeremy. By a vote of 9-2, you are the winner of Big Brother Disney Tomorrowland Season 7. Y'all can unmute now and say congrats to Jeremy. They deserve it.
Congrats, Jeremy.
Congrats, Jeremy.
Congratulations, Jeremy.
Thank you, everybody.
Their reaction was so cute. Oh my god.
Congratulations,
I-
Jeremy. You earned that.
Circle.
I started the org community playing Big Brother games, and I've played like 20 of these fucking things, and the best I've ever done was second place in a 4-3 vote against me. And to win one finally at this point feels so fucking good.
Yay.
Very well deserved.
You earned it,
Very
baby.
deserved.
Good job.
Jeremy, watching
Good
you
job,
play this
Jeremy.
entire season was so much fun. Thank you for being a part of it. This game is better because you were here, and you're just such an amazing person. Thank you so much. And congratulations to you too, Steve. You made it to final 2. That's a very impressive feat. Nothing to turn your nose up at. But I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about awards. We have a couple awards to give out tonight while Jeremy sobs into his vape, as we all do.
I'm
So
running my mascara.
I get
Look,
it.
I even got all pretty for you guys.
I know. Oh, I love it.
Just so the mascara could run.
You do look stunning.
The bowl.
But let's get into the awards. We will start off with host favorites, and then it will progressively go into the more impressive awards. But we will at least start with host favorites. For the hosts that are here, they will obviously read their own slides, and then I'll read for the hosts who are not present at this moment. So let's get started. We have a slideshow because we always have graphics.
Oh.
Timmy's stunning graphics.
One last time.
Dimmy has turned this into such a high budget game simply with his graphics.
No, literally. Thank you, Timmy, for all of your skills this season.
Y'all are so nice.
Tomorrowland, more like yesterday land, am I right?
Throws you.
All right. Starting with the after show host favorite presented by John, as John has such a huge impact on the season. We, of course, wanted John to speak on behalf of the after show. So, John, the floor is yours.
Well, as you can see here, so I know everybody's expecting that I'm going to pick Meg for my favorite, and while that'll be predictable, I'm not that. So I never knew what this player was actually going to say at any point of the season, whether it be challenge or while they were being interviewed. Then it got amplified once they were on the jury. And it became definitely known in my mind that you were the queen of the jury and you didn't mind fucking with people at any point once they came in. You had me dying and laughing every step of the way. So my host favorite goes to Susie.
Congratulations, Susie.
Icon.
Yay, Susie.
Congrats.
Period.
Yeah,
And
you're
Susie
muted,
is the
Kate.
winner of
I was trying to
$10,000.
unmute. Oh, thank you so much. Is this from all of the after show? Like, including, wait, you're just you, or like, Jen too?
I'm representing everybody.
Oh, thank you. I couldn't have done it without Jen.
Hi. So on to our next one. I do not believe Minor is here right now, so I will read on Minor's behalf. It was very fun to follow your game. You were social and did well in comps. You won a few as well. It was always interesting to see what you were going to do when you had power. Thank you for being on this season. It was fun having you. My host favorite goes to Fabi. Congratulations, Fabi. You were Miner's host favorite.
Thank you.
Bobby deserves the world for having to put up with the time difference.
Oh,
I
period.
Big
point that
literally.
out.
Next up is Keaton.
I'm sure you can tell who this is going to just based off the first sentence. You running around trying to grab items to spell words. It was already mentioned tonight, but it still lives in my head. You had been suggested by Alex to play this game, and I'm so glad he did because you're a bundle of positive energy that came throughout this game. And you coming back via the battle back was just so good to be able to continue having you in this game. You were so much fun. And I'm glad this was your first experience in this space. If you haven't figured out by now, my host favorite was Elizabeth.
Queen.
Icon.
All right, next up is Jill. Jill, can you read or are you driving?
She asked you to read it in the prod chat.
Yes, please read for me. I'm driving, but to who
Jill
it goes
said-
to, love you.
Since the moment Madison and I finished your interview, I was so excited to see you play. I was even more excited when I saw you had a close ally in this game, especially with it being your first org on Skype. You had so much fun in this game and watching you was such a joy. My host favorite goes to Laura. Congratulations, Laura.
Did you?
Thank you so much for playing, Laura. You were so wonderful to watch.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Miss Julia.
So I had never met you before this game, but you were absolutely one of my favorite parts of it. You're so funny, and seeing you talk about the game and just life in general was always a highlight of this experience for me. You're such a gem, and I can't wait to see you in a couple months. My host favorite goes to
Michael.
Oh,
Michael.
I did a lot of awkward things.
I know, you're fine. I was like, am I supposed to say something? Thank you, Julia. I honestly, and I say this, like, it was so fun getting to like meet you two and talk to you, like, especially right before my interview. I love talking to you too. That was so sweet.
You're literally the best.
Thank you too.
Special shout out on my next slide. I didn't pick this person because they did really badly in the game, but Sarah, you're one of my favorite people in the world. You're not on this next slide, but you're one of my favorite people in my heart. I'm up next. From the beginning, I could always see your mind working, maybe because you did not understand how Big Brother worked, but still working nonetheless. People counted you out, but production never did. Working through all the things life threw at you, wearing a mining flashlight on your head to a challenge always made me laugh. Your passion to keep playing through not one, but two hurricanes is admirable. I'm so glad we were your first Big Brother game. My host favorite goes to Amy.
Thank you so much.
Such a queen, such a joy. And last up is Madison.
Oh, you were set to be my host favorite from the moment you walked in, and you lived up to every expectation. I love to watch you play these games because you bring an energy that I not only now know that I love to host, but just love to see maneuver through this game. Your mind truly is so powerful, but you manage that strategy so well and maintain such a well-rounded social game at the same time. I think this game provided really interesting circumstances for you, but you always managed to shine for me throughout the season. Slay, bestie. I wrote this before the events of tonight, but my host favorite goes to Jeremy.
I love you, bestie.
Love you, bestie. A special side shout out goes to Hudson for my host favorite because I think Hudson would have absolutely munched this had life been a little bit kinder at the same time.
I love
that all of-
you. Oh my gosh.
Now let's go into some other awards that are not host opinionated based. Well, they still are, but more based on your game. Okay, maybe this one is a little opinionated. Most magical. Here are the nominees for who we thought were some of the most magical players this season. Elizabeth, Laura, and Susie. The three of you, just your energy radiated so much happiness, so much light, so much of that Disney energy that we feel is just absolutely key and vital.
I would hope so for me.
Yeah.
But in the end, there was just one of you that we felt through all the circumstances that were thrown at her just shone so bright, and your light was just too bright to dim. Laura, congratulations. You won the most magical award.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Our robbed preacher. So there are only so many who put on closed captioning. Michelle? There were only 3 options for this one, so it's either Rachel, Sarah, or Andrew. A case could be made for all 3. Sarah, you were targeted round 2 by somebody on your team. That's just wild, man. Rachel, gone too soon. Andrew, while Andrew was targeting some of the bigger players in the game, I feel some people might have taken that comment and stretched it very, 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 very far.
I think you forgot
Guilty.
I do think I forgot a very. And while you guys could have ran over Andrew and just thrown him under the bus, y'all threw him under the Titanic. So our robbed preacher of the season is Andrew. Y'all fucked him hard. That was awful.
For real.
Y'all did him so.
It was truly an assassination.
That was dirty. Our next award is for the most robbed juror. The nominees are Fabi, Laura, and Michael. Laura, I've never seen someone get second place in 2 battle box. That shit's wild.
How does that happen?
Michael, on your eviction, you were blindsided by one of the people you thought was your closest ally, and I know it hurt. But what really hurt was watching Fabi fight for his life in a game when no one was planning on saving him. And it just really hurt our hearts because Fabi was doing so well. So we did give Rob Jur to Fabi. On to the best move of the game. Multiple people can win these ones awards. Our nominees are the voting out of Haley.
Yes, we support.
Look at that picture.
Where the fuck's my picture? The hell?
Cody, if you want to reference it, you made that 5 minutes before eviction. And
Wait, is that not a cute picture of the 4 of us or what? That's all I'm gonna say.
Honestly, I love this picture.
Cody,
Oh,
you
look, I
made
got
that
it.
5 minutes before eviction. Oh, you guys.
I need a screenshot of this picture.
Before we move on, we do have a special guest entering the chat. Everyone, welcome Miss Rachel.
Woo!
We
Rachel.
She's
She's
loading.
still connecting to audio.
Same.
Eventually, she'll get there.
It's that flamingo Wi-Fi.
Oh, it's
Oh my
terrible.
god.
Oh my god, is that Miss
Hey, Rachel.
Rachel, I love you.
Hi,
besties.
Hey,
Rachel, I
Rachel.
love you so much. I love you. You're my
Oh, we-
face. Love. I'm so embarrassed. Hi.
Oh my god. That move was iconic. It set the tone for the game. These 4 literally had 5 minutes because Cody only gave them 5 minutes to learn about an alliance, make a decision, and vote based on the information they were given. And they did choose what we feel was the best move for their chances to do better in the game going forward. Of course, things could have happened differently, but we feel with what happened at the time made the most sense. Next up, Jeremy, how the fuck did you convince Cody to throw the veto that sent him home?
I still
Not
don't
the
know.
picture. Not Jeremy like towering over. I feel so short.
That is the most impressive picture placement.
I think what makes it even more funny is that Cody is annoyed. Like Cody's annoyed that he's such through it.
No, I'm just annoyed, period.
And the last best move / moves of the game is the Cruise Crew Alliance planning. I know, I feel the same way. Planning through the PMP. Y'all were breaking our twist. How rude! But
Controlled
honestly,
1 through 9.
no, but honestly, very impressive. We were very impressed that you guys were able to kind of talk through like, okay, guys, like here's what's coming up. The only time it kind of flopped on you guys is when we had like 12 punishments, and y'all were like, oh shit, wait a damn minute. And Jeremy ended up on the block in all the chaos. But in the end, we felt the move that really affected the game the best and had the most impact going forward was going to be voting out Haley.
Amy, we did. Amy, Megan, and Molly, we did it.
Oh my god, we did it.
They just love
Haley, I
to
love
laugh
you.
at my misery.
Haley, I love you. I love you. I love you.
Now on to the opposite of this, the worst move of the game.
Cody throwing.
That one kind of like goes in with yours.
Literally.
We didn't include it twice, but we will kind of touch on that. Noah backdooring Andrew wasn't really great for Noah's game. It was great for Crew's crew, wasn't great for Noah. It was probably a big part of why Noah went home in the following rounds. Next up is a more blanketed term. Anytime Cody had power. Cody won Veto round 2, and instead of saving himself, made him and Hudson look like a clear duo by using the veto on Hudson. People were not blind to that. Cody gets an alliance that actually wants to work with him and saves him, and then immediately puts them up on the block. Then Cody wins head of household again, and then goes back to the people who have now backstabbed him twice. And then for some reason, he thinks third time's the charm and throws the veto to one of the people who's backstabbed him twice. And color me shocked that they backstabbed him a third time. Wild how that shit works.
I love you, Cody.
Love
We
that.
you
Cody,
anyway.
we say this with all love in
Cody.
our heart.
We
Yeah,
love
we love you,
so
Cody.
much.
And last nomination for worst move of the game, unfortunately, is Blake not using that veto. We were in the prod chat like, why? And I will not put all the blame on this to Blake. Megan and Amy, I do not feel did the best job of articulating what they would have done if Blake were to have used that veto. But Blake, you could have vetoed either of them, and they were going like, and I feel like they made it very clear in the Michael vote that they were not splitting from each other. So if you had vetoed one of them, you would have got Jeremy out. The outcome of this game would have been so different. Jeremy would be on this jury, and who knows who would have won this game. It's so up in the air.
I truly think if Blake did that, Blake wins the game. Like truly,
I
truly
agree.
wholeheartedly, because Blake wins Final Four, HOH, and I don't think anyone's beating Blake at statements. Like I think Blake wins the game.
No, I think Blake, you could have gotten you, Amy, and Steve to final 3, and I think you had a really good shot of making it here. But either way, you do win an award. Congratulations, Blake. Unfortunately, because that was the major deciding factor in who won this game. That is unfortunately the worst move of the game.
Yay, my 5 fuck ups are less than Blake's 1 fuck up.
Not by much. No, by much though. You not by much.
Okay, I will argue that the first time I won power was optimal because when was Andrew ever working with me?
It's not Andrew. It's the fact you painted a target on you and Hudson as being a duo, because why would you not take yourself off the block at final 17? There's so many unknown factor, or final 16. There's so many unknown factors. And I think there's too much risk at that. It's okay. You took the risk and it paid off, and Hudson walked, which I think kind of helped you because you never had to go up with Hudson. But I think had Hudson have stayed, I think it would have been your demise much earlier.
You know what's funny is I remember being in my prod chat, like I probably should have just told him to not do that, but I wasn't gonna pass it up.
We appreciate the honesty
I'm
here.
pretty sure me and Hudson had a call about that.
Did we? We probably did. I don't even remember, but
We are gonna go on to villain of the season. Our first nominee. I want to clarify, you are not here because you were a rootable villain. You backstabbed all the people who wanted to save you, and you worked with all the people who didn't. It was crazy. We were in the prod chat, jaws on the floor. I will say, Cody, you shocked us with your gameplay.
I shocked myself, man.
It was not a comfy shock. It was a very uncomfy shock. Because we would be rooting for you, and we're like, what is he doing? But it's okay.
Funny,
You know what?
haha. Funny, but not funny, haha. Funny, weird.
Cody was the person coming into this. I'm like, if Cody just plays well, Cody's gonna win. Like it's gonna happen. Like I know it's gonna happen. And then you would just do things like, Cody, why? Cody.
Our next
Cody
nominee.
certainly played a game.
I think Steve, towards the end of the game, as Steve said, I don't know what crawled up Steve's ass, but he just got cocky. He got arrogant. And he openly admits to all this. I don't feel bad saying it out loud. Just your attitude changed from the Steve we saw at the beginning of the game. I don't know what effect that had on you winning the game, but I do know it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, which is how you got this nomination. Last but not least, I personally don't think you were much of a villain this game, but a lot of players did. I think you were loyal enough to the alliance members you cared about, not cared about, but like were like you cared to make final 3 with. Because one thing I will address that Blake kept saying, Jeremy really was not actively, at least not to prod, targeting Blake. Jeremy, I would constantly be like, do you plan on like taking the shot at Blake? And Jeremy's like, no, I'll go to final 3 with Blake and we'll see what happens from there. Jeremy was not really actively like. I'm sure the thought crossed their mind, but Jeremy wasn't out for as much blood as Blake was, and that's neither one is bad. But in the end, girl, what the fuck? All right.
Hey, I won something. Okay, I'm done now.
I'm proud of you.
Go, Cody.
But to have a villain, you must have a hero. Our nominations for hero this season, we have Miss Amy, we have Miss Liz, and we have Miss Megan. You three, y'all were the sweet peas of the jury. It was all three of your first Big Brother games. Liz, it was your first game. Just y'all came in with this can-do attitude. Y'all were so lovely to host. Y'all made hosting on the hard days really great.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, we lost Timmy.
Stand by.
I thought it was my internet.
Not the glitch.
Timmy?
Oh, no.
Oh no, Timmy. Timmy.
Timmy, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't know what happened. I'm hosting a 95-person Zoom right now, so the internet's probably struggling. But you know what?
We didn't hear anything, but we saw the slide move.
Oh, I'm hosting a 25-person Zoom right now. It's struggling. But Liz, you just made us very happy. You made us laugh all the time, and having you around was just a joy and a half. Now on to nominees for Player of the Season. Our first one is Blake. Blake, you came into this game guns a-blazing. You were working very hard to get the moves you wanted done. They didn't always hit, but when they didn't hit, you recovered from them very well. And I think that was something to be very admirable to look at. We don't normally consider the winner to be Player of the Season, but Jeremy, you were taking names. Like you were having no one shit this game, and it was honestly really good to see. And our final nominee is going to be Amy. Amy, honestly, for your first Big Brother game, a lot of people counted you out in their prod chats. They were like, what is this girl doing? And I'd be like, Amy, what are your thoughts on the game? And she'd go, well, I think Blake, Steve, Cody, Jeremy, possibly Haley, Hudson, like she named Cruise Crew like week 3. Like Amy had y'all clocked. Also, Megan had y'all clocked. They didn't have the power to do anything at the beginning, but they knew who was in this chat. And from there, Amy was nominated 4 times, was on her way out, and somehow survived through these nominations. She had a final 2 with Megan that went very undetected, sometimes to their benefit, sometimes not. We honestly, had you not have won this game, Jeremy, this probably would have gone to you. But that did weigh into our factor a lot. So between Blake and Amy, we just kind of weighed out like what were your circumstances in the game and what did you do with them? And we did ultimately decide that Amy, you played such a strong first Big Brother game, and we just wanted to award that. Blake, you still did such a fantastic job. You both were, it was a hard choice between the two of you. If we could have 2, it would be both of you. Congratulations to both. And from all of the prod team, we just want to say thank you for an amazing game, and we will see you all next season.